The day begins with a fee. You see, the utility company that powers the alarm clock and coffee maker also charges $7 a month for something called a merchant function charge. Charge associated with procuring electricity, credit and collection related activities, and uncollectible accounts. So I'm paying the power company to hunt down people who aren't paying the power company. I flip on the TV, which comes through a cable box I'm forced to rent for $6 a month, every month, forever. Off to a gym I'd like to quit, but that would cost me $200. To shoot a story, I board an airline that charged a $10 booking fee. And rent a car that quoted me a cost of $39 a day, but it's really $60 thanks to the customer facility charge. Oh, I can't forget to call home via a phone company that charges a regulatory recovery fee. I'm not making this up. That's what they charge to collect the other charges. Just another day in America. Land of the fee, home of the waiver. It is now a widely accepted business model in this country to sign you up, then trip you up with asterisks, mouse print, and insidious aftercharges. Experts say that the average American is being nickel and dimed to the tune of nearly $1,000 a year. Well, it turns out that there's a growing body of journalism on this very topic, led in part by a great book called Gotcha Capitalism, written by a guy named Bob Sullivan. Hey, Bob. How you doing? Thanks for joining me. Bob starts with what economists call the tourist paradox, and we've all tasted it.
$15.
You go on vacation, you don't speak the language or know the exchange rate, so chances are you're charged more than the locals. Not enough to make you call a cop, just enough to fatten their till.
$5.
Well, in the age of global commerce, mega corporations are the locals, and we're the tourists, confounded by the fine print and too shy to make a fuss.
If you have 10 customers, you can't cheat them all the time. If you have 1 million customers and you steal $1 from them once a week, well, that's a pretty good business. That's the kind of calculation that's being done inside every major company in America right now.
Bob took me on a sneaky fee tour of Lower Manhattan, which requires cash, of course.
The average consumer spends about $100 a year just withdrawing money from an ATM.
Banks would argue that they're providing a service.
They're providing
here.
a service. This
It
costs them money,
right?
It actually does, and that's fair. But I think with all of these issues, does the punishment and the crime, do they fit? Your bank is going to charge you $3.
$3.
So if you pull out $20 from this machine, you're going to get charged $6 for that.
Right.
What kind of an interest rate is that?
He advises using small banks or credit unions, which often waive their ATM fees. And after lunch, Bob warns me to never pay with a debit card, because debit cards are never rejected if your balance gets too low.
4 or 5 years ago, if you didn't have enough money in your account, your card would be declined. Nowadays, banks offer what's called courtesy, overdraft protection, some courtesy. So they'll approve the transaction and then charge you $30 to $40 for each additional transaction. And banks collect $17 billion a year in courtesy overdraft fees. It's probably the single largest hidden fee in America.
30
You got it.
So we've come to Wall Street to discuss the most egregious offender, which is 401k fees, our retirement accounts.
Yes. On average, the average American worker loses about 1/3 of the money they should have at retirement to Wall Street. They don't call them fees, they're expense ratios. Go look them up tonight, and you'll find out that somebody is taking between 1% and 2% of your money every year.
So let's talk about cell phones, handheld devices.
Uh-huh.
This is another sore spot.
It's a portable cash register here, I like to say.
Right, right. What's the biggest offender when it comes to these?
Premium text messaging is one of the biggest offenders. Most folks have never even heard of that. There's regular text and there's premium texts.
Is
Premium
it a fancier
texts.
font? What's the
No,
difference?
they look exactly the same, only they cost $1 or $2 a piece. And if you've ever heard one of those horrible stories about a kid signing up for a ringtone service and their parents suddenly getting a $20 or $30 bill, those are premium text messages.
Going through my bills, he points out how phone companies and utilities label fees with official government-sounding names, as if these are taxes they can't control. Most of the time, he says, they're not. They are just fees which simply inflate the advertised price.
This whole gotcha scheme has ruined price comparison.
Right.
Price is an incredibly important element of our economy, and right now, I call it the death of the price tag. No one knows how much anything costs.
Sullivan believes that even well-intentioned companies get sucked into this practice because it's the only way to compete.
Intercontinental Hotels a couple of years ago experimented with what they called upfront pricing. On their website, they advertised hotel rooms right up front. There was the number, that was what you were going to pay if you stayed in their hotel. All resort fees, everything included. What happened? They lost all their customers to their competitors who were lowball pricing.
Now, the most obvious fix for all of this is one set of rules for everyone. But given the lobbying strength of the big corporations and banks, stricter regulation and enforcement is easier said than done. So in the meantime, Bob encourages us all to do our civic duty and complain.
I think complaining is like voting. Maybe it doesn't feel like it does any good, but if no one did it, obviously there wouldn't be any change.
And it has to be almost a symbolic protest, right? It may
That's
not be
right.
worth the $9 fee you're fighting.
It's a principle. Set aside a half an hour every month.
A half an hour a month.
Pick off the cable company, the cell phone company, and you know what? In a 30-minute phone call, say you get rid of a $9 a month fee that you know you don't deserve to pay. Well, that's $100 a year practically. That's a $200 an hour job you just got yourself.
Right.
No one can turn down money like that.
Right.
If you think your bill is higher or lower than normal, press 3. To return to the... If you
So with that in mind, time to stop being a tourist.
information about factors
For
affecting
Nightline,
your bill,
I'm Bill Weir in New York.